give out the 6 things I absolutely hate about my Tesla. Okay, I'm gonna flash up on the screen everything just so you can see if you don't want to watch the rest of the video. But I'm gonna explain every single one. And first is cost. This is my second car ever. I'm only 27. I bought it at 26. And I never, ever wanted to spend this much money on a car. Ever. However, it's just, my goal was to get the longest range EV that could replace a gas car. Or rather, actually, the cheapest EV that could replace a gas car, and this was it. At the time, it was $56,000 after options. It's just, to spend that much money on a car was just unfathomable. Like the BMW, Mercedes, I never even crossed my mind to buy one of those. It's just, I think people who buy one of those, it's just a waste of money, honestly. It's always what I thought. But, my car before this was a 1999 Hyundai Accent. Got it my senior year of high school. Drove it until I got this car, which was in 2018, so 8 years I drove that car. I didn't drive too much in college or in high school, so that was the biggest factor allowing me to keep it so long. It had 130,000 miles when I got rid of it, and we got it for $1,000 and sold it for $800. So yeah, I always had a cheap car, and to spend this much money on a car, it just seemed ridiculous to me. But do I regret it? Not one bit. Some of the other downsides of having such a high cost include things like just people in general think I have a lot of money. This misconception that this car is really expensive. Well, in terms of, they think it's $100,000. I'm like, how do you make so much money? I'm like, I don't. When you include maintenance costs and everything else, again, over 5 years, if you drive a lot, unfortunately I don't really drive a lot, it's about the cost of a Honda Accord. The thing is, I was gonna buy a Chevy Volt instead of this car, so it's just one of those things that's just like, since a lot of my driving is around town, it would be all in electric anyway and not cost me anything. I would have paid $15,000 cash for the Chevy Volts. But this car, obviously, it was much more than that. It's just, this is the car I want, and that's the way I buy things. Just get what you want immediately instead of just getting what you don't want and not being happy with it. Next on the list, because of that high cost, you have insurance. I paid next to nothing for, obviously, my last car was $1,000 value. So I paid next to nothing in insurance costs. I just had enough to cover liability insurance, and that was it. And to come up now, I don't for what this car costs, I don't think it's outrageous. I pay just over $1,000 a year, so just over $500 every 6 months for insurance. So it's not particularly expensive for the class of car, but compared to what I was paying, like $40 a month, like less than half that for my old insurance, and that was before I was 25. So the insurance was much higher because I was younger. Fortunately, I got my car at 26, and because of that, the insurance costs weren't outrageous. I went at Esurance, and honestly, they were the most reasonable, and actually I have quite good coverage, like $250,000 deductible or something like that. So I'm pretty happy with that so far, but it's just, that's an extra, at least $500 a year I have to pay to own this car. List. I have to baby it. My old car was just, like I said, 1999 Hyundai Accent. It was old. It was 20 years old, maybe over 20 years old at this time now. And it's just, I didn't care. I had rust marks. The clear coat was falling off of it. I didn't have to care. I could sit on it. I could scratch it up. I really didn't care. Have to care, at least. The seats and stuff were good inside. I like my interior to be clean. But otherwise, like, I just didn't have to baby it. I don't have to worry about dents in the parking lot and any of that stuff. This car, man, I have just general anxiety all the time with this car. Sentry mode helps alleviate a lot of that, but just, I already got a dent, and fortunately or unfortunately, it was not, it was completely accidental by a friend with his Model 3, and I wasn't gonna make him pay for it because it probably would have costed. He would have had to use his insurance to pay for it. It would have been probably $700+ to fix a little dent in the side. Pingless dent repair. I went to it and couldn't really fix it. So at least it was really early when Model 3s were first coming out, so that might be why. But it's just, he felt really bad about it, and it's one of those things I try. It's like I spent so much money on this, I try to keep it looking nice. And I spent a lot of time washing it and buying supplies and all that stuff to keep the interior clean and all that. It's just, I'm trying to give that up. I don't want to destroy the car, but I don't want to just have to waste my entire life trying to keep it look nice. Like, I didn't buy ceramic coat or anything. I wax it once or twice a year. I keep it washed at least once a month or so. Just, especially after if the roads have been salted and any of that stuff. So it's just one of those things that just kind of a rule of thumb for anything I buy. I like to take care of it, and it takes a lot of time and effort to do that, and so it's one of those things that you would rather not have to do, but you really should. Next, number 4, tires. I haven't replaced my tires yet. I'm just over 18,000 miles on this car, but I bet you by 20,000, just after 20,000 miles, I will have to replace my tires. The amount of tires, my old car, I had to replace tires once. I mean, I guess I only put on just over 30,000 miles on it, but you just don't have to replace tires as much on other cars, it seems. They last 40,000 miles. On Teslas, ubiquitously, just because of that torque and because you're flooring it. I mean, I don't floor it at every stoplight. It's like, if I have to, I will, or if I just want to have some fun, I will. But not, it's like maybe 1 out of every 10 stoplights I'll have any reasonable acceleration. But the tires still wear way quicker, and it could be just the type of tire I have, the Michelin MX-M4, the default 18-inch tires on the Tesla Model 3. But they just seem to wear really quick. I'm gonna get some cross-climate tires next. We'll see. They have a higher tread rating. Maybe they'll last 30,000 miles. If I can get 30 to 40,000, I'll be very happy. But I think they'll last 30,000 tops on the next set of tires. It's just, they have to fork over $700+ when before it was like $250 for tires. It's a downside, and it's one of those things like, how much do I want a Tesla? Am I going to be willing to pay for the tire cost? I guess I don't have to pay for oil changes, gas costs, and everything else. It basically offsets it. In terms of maintenance costs, I'm paying just as much for this car as I would a cheaper used ICE car, unfortunately. But that's the price to pay for having clean energy, or clean transportation, if you will. Now on the number 5, just starting to get the nitty-gritty little bits that just like kind of bug me about the car. Honestly, it's the plastic, the black plastic. I'm just like Tesla, just make it something else besides piano black. Like, it looks good in photos, and that's it. Even immediately, as soon as you get in the car, it's dusty and grimy, and it scratches immediately. It looks terrible. I've wrapped mine. It's just, and it took just about an hour time, $25 or something for a wrap. Totally worth it, and it looks way, way better. It looks factory, honestly. Except for a couple spots that messed up. But you can't see those. It's not a big deal. It's just, even on the door handles and everything else, it just doesn't look good. And the glossy black, after a while, just scratches and just dust magnet. And it doesn't look good. And that's just one of those small little things Otherwise, I absolutely love this interior. It's just stuff like that, you know? It's just, it seems like it wouldn't have cost much more. I'm not sure who made that design decision, but it definitely could have been improved, I think, at no additional cost. But that's just a little thing. And the final bit is software. And this is the best thing about a Tesla. Every one of these things I'm about to say can be fixed through an over-the-air software update. So it's not like I have to deal with it for the rest of the life of the car. It's just currently they tick me off, and it's just little things that I think those are the last bits on my want list for this car, and I feel like they can be fixed. Okay, as for the software list, the three main things are a heat button, being able to control everything in the app that I can in the car, and something as simple as keeping the car unlocked when it's by GPS location. The car's at home, it should stay unlocked. Down the list, so a heat button, just to explain what that is, there's an AC button so you can turn the AC on and off at will. Unfortunately, it's needed. It's on right now, even though it's 36 degrees outside, just because it helps manage the moisture in the car. And that's needed for a lot of times if you're talking a lot or breathing a lot. Most of the time, I don't need it, so I turn it off, and I get much better, like 20 watt-hours a mile efficiency better not having that on. So it's just one of those things that save energy. It's the same thing when I want a heat button. So many times in the summertime here in the mountains that it's really cool in the morning, about 60 degrees, and then it heats up very quickly to 70 and 80 degrees in the summertime. It's one of those things that's just, the heat will blow. And like, at 60 degrees, it's humid outside, so 60 degrees actually doesn't feel that cold here in the morning in the mountains. And it's just one of those things that's, why is the heat blowing? It's warm outside, and it's about to get even warmer. I don't want the heat blowing. It does that because the internal temperature in the car it's cold. But for human comfort, it doesn't feel cold. And so the heat should never be turning on in the summertime, in my opinion. And it's one of those things that's just, I want manual control. The heat would never turn on as long as this button's off. And so that would save me, like, I've done the test, and it makes a significant difference on my watt-hours per mile and efficiency. So I'm just wasting energy, besides the fact that I'm just not comfortable when the car is spitting out heat in the summertime, and it shouldn't. As well as there's a bug, and this is actually a big issue I have still, and I need to figure it out so I can get it fixed before I'm out of warranty. The rear seats will blow heat for no reason when the front's blowing out cold air. There's been a whole bunch of threads on this, and multiple people have this issue. It's just nobody can seem to pinpoint what's causing it. So that's something I need to figure out. And in terms of the app, like, I always like to manually adjust my amperage and everything from the app, charge times and all that type of stuff. But it's just, you can't do that from the app, so I have to walk down to the car. I know, first world problems. But being able to do that would be a tremendous thing. Elon said everything in the car will come to the app eventually, so I know at some point it's gonna come. Same thing, I believe he mentioned in a tweet that your car can stay unlocked while in the garage, and that will be awesome. All those things will come at some point. The heat button, there's so many mixed feelings on it. So many people down with it. I don't think they quite understand anything. Just let the car control what it's doing. But like, there is zero reason I need heat on in the summertime, and I want it to turn off and be off completely. So it's just one of those things that I have an AC button. I should also have a heat button. And it's just, relatively speaking, that is relatively easy to program. Everything's there. They just need a button to turn the code on and off. So yeah, those are my top 6 things, pet peeves about this car. Please let me know in the comments if you have a car or things you hate about Tesla. But everything else, it's like, honestly, the list was kind of hard to make up. There's probably a couple other things that have pet peeved me, but it's just like, clearly I'm a fanboy, and it's just, I find so hard to hate anything about this car. that it's nearly the perfect car for me. So it's just that finding anything to hate about it is kind of surprising from my point of view. So yeah, just let me know, guys. If you made it this far, please leave a comment to let me know, and I will see you in the next video.